nobody is watching you right now. No audience, no performance, no one waiting for you to say the right thing or be the right version of yourself. And in that silence, in that private, unwitnessed space, something happens in your mind. Something most people's minds never do. You probably don't even notice it. It's been so natural to you for so long that you've mistaken it for ordinary. Maybe you've even been told it's a problem, that you're too much in your head, that you think too hard, that you need to just be. But here's what psychology actually says, and this part most people never hear. True cognitive sophistication almost never announces itself in public. It doesn't live in grades. It doesn't live in quick wit or confident answers or the ability to dominate a room. It lives in the quiet, in the moments nobody else witnesses. And if you consistently do these 6 things when you are completely alone, your level of intelligence is far rarer than anyone has ever told you. Welcome to Decoded Psychology, where we go beneath the surface of the behaviors you barely notice in yourself and find the psychological architecture underneath. Stay with this one. What's coming will change, how you see your own mind. The first thing, you sit with uncomfortable questions without forcing an answer. Think about what most minds do when they hit uncertainty. They grab the nearest explanation, any explanation. They seal the case shut because the discomfort of not knowing feels genuinely unbearable, like standing on ice that hasn't cracked yet but might. But you do something different. You turn the question over and over without demanding a resolution. You hold it open even when it's uncomfortable, even when it keeps you up, even when part of you is screaming to just decide and move on. Psychologists have a name for this: epistemic patience. And it is, I want to be precise here, one of the highest cognitive functions the human brain is capable of. Not because it feels productive. It often doesn't. It often feels like spinning your wheels. But the mind that can hold a question open without forcing a premature answer is the mind that eventually arrives at something true rather than something merely convenient. Most people never develop this, not because they can't, but because nobody ever told them that not knowing held deliberately was itself a form of intelligence. The second thing, you mentally argue against your own beliefs. Close your eyes and think about what most people do with their private mental time. They replay conversations where they were right. They construct imaginary arguments they already know how to win. They quietly, privately congratulate themselves on the positions they already hold. Now think about what you do. If you regularly find yourself alone, genuinely building the strongest possible case against your own opinions, not to destroy them, but to test them, you possess something psychologists call active self-opposition. And I need you to hear the difference between this and self-doubt, because they are not the same thing at all. Self-doubt asks, am I good enough? Active self-opposition asks, is my thinking actually accurate? One undermines you. The other sharpens you. Every major intellectual breakthrough in recorded history, every scientific revolution, every philosophical shift, every moment a single person changed how humanity understood itself came from a mind that was willing to argue against itself first, in private, with no audience, with nothing to win. That willingness is rarer than almost any skill you could cultivate. And right here, I need to stop for a moment, because something needs to be said before we continue. If you're recognizing yourself in these first 2, you've probably also spent a significant part of your life being told the opposite. That you overthink, that you're too analytical, that you're too hard on yourself for questioning what you believe. Those criticisms were not accurate. They were descriptions of ordinary minds encountering a mind that operates differently. What looked like overthinking from the outside was your intelligence doing exactly what intelligence is supposed to do, working, even in private. Especially in private. Hold on to that. We're coming back to it. The third thing, you notice patterns in your own emotional reactions. Anyone can feel an emotion. That's not intelligence, that's biology. What's rare is studying your emotions the way a scientist would study data. Observing not just what you felt, but why this specific situation produced this specific response in you. Tracing the pattern backward. Asking, where does this actually come from? Psychologists call this metacognition, thinking about thinking, feeling an emotion, and watching it from a slight distance, as if part of you stepped to the side to observe what the rest of you is doing. The ability to do this privately, without anyone prompting you, Without a therapist asking the right question, just your own mind watching itself move through experience that separates reactive thinking from genuinely intelligent thinking. Not because emotions signal low intelligence. They don't. But because the capacity to observe your own emotional patterns rather than simply be carried by them is a different order of awareness entirely. The fourth thing, you revisit old memories and understand them differently. Most people's understanding of their own past stays fixed at the moment it was formed. The story they told themselves at 22 about why something happened is the story they're still telling at 42. The folder was created, filed, and closed, but that's not what you do. If you've ever been completely alone and suddenly realized that something you experienced years ago means something entirely different now, that the lesson you drew from it was incomplete, or that the person you blamed deserved more complexity than you gave them, or that what felt like why failure was actually redirection, that's not rumination. That is cognitive flexibility operating at its highest level. Your mind is not a filing cabinet. It's a living system that returns to old information and reorganizes it in light of who you've become. Most people don't do this. Yours does. Quietly, without being asked, when nobody's watching. The fifth thing, you get genuinely curious about things that help you with absolutely nothing. Shallow curiosity is transactional. People learn what helps them look impressive, earn more money, or solve an immediate problem, and then they stop. The learning was never really about the subject. It was about the outcome. But you found yourself alone, falling deeply into something that has no practical payoff whatsoever. Something that just fascinates you and won't let you go. A historical event, a philosophical problem, how something obscure works, the psychology of a person who lived 100 years before you were born. That intrinsic intellectual drive curiosity that moves toward what's interesting rather than what's useful is one of the clearest psychological signals of a high-functioning mind. Not because useless knowledge is less virtuous. It isn't. But because the mind that still follows genuine fascination is a mind that hasn't been fully reduced to a productivity machine. It still has something alive in it. And that aliveness is rarer than almost any credential you could put on a resume. The sixth thing. And this is the one that most people will read past without realizing what it actually reveals. You catch yourself mid-thought and change direction. Most people, once their mind commits to a line of reasoning, follow it to the end. Not because it's right, but out of sheer cognitive habit. The train left the station and they're on it. But if you regularly catch yourself mid-thought, recognize that your initial reasoning was incomplete or biased or leading somewhere. Your gut knows is wrong and voluntarily redirect without ego, you are demonstrating something that formal education almost never teaches. Real-time intellectual agility. Not the kind you perform in a debate, the kind that happens silently in the middle of a thought with no audience and no applause. Just you, catching yourself and choosing accuracy over momentum. Here's what all 6 of these have in common. None of them are visible. None of them are rewarded by the systems most of us grew up in. School never graded epistemic patience. No one got promoted for arguing against themselves in private. No credential exists for the quiet work of watching your own mind move. But psychology is clear. The most sophisticated cognitive functions a human can possess almost never perform for a crowd. They develop in solitude. They sharpen in silence. They live in the 6 inches between your ears, in the dark, when no one is watching and you have nothing to prove. You have been doing this work your entire life. You just didn't have language for it. And now you do. If this kind of thinking is what you're looking for, the psychology beneath the psychology, the explanation underneath the explanation, there is an entire world of it waiting here on Decoded Psychology.
Subscribe, because every week we go somewhere most channels won't.
And next, we're looking at something that might make you genuinely uncomfortable. Why the most self-aware people are often the hardest to be in a relationship with. That one deserves your full attention.